All right. Thank you so much today, everybody, for coming to this virtual community prep session, which is preparing us for the public meeting that Texas Concrete Enterprise is going to have on Monday, October 14th. This effort could not have been possible without the collaboration that we've had with the Harris County Attorney's Office, who's here today to give updates, Impact Justice with Fifth Ward, Progressive Fifth Ward, Community Association, Lone Star Legal Aid, Harris County Precinct 1, and then, of course, my lovely team at Air Alliance Houston. Today, we do have Spanish interpretation at Air Alliance. We believe that everyone should be able to advocate in the language that they are most comfortable in. So with that, I will pass to my colleague Genesis to to give an update. Genesis, if you're speaking, we are not able to hear you.
He's muted.
Meanwhile, they're fixing their mic. As participants, y'all will see that there is a globe on your control panel. There's a globe, so if anybody does need Spanish interpretation, if anybody that you invited, you know that they would need Spanish interpretation, they can click on that and click on Spanish. So I'm going to say all this in English, and then Genesis can hop in and interpret. When you're in so right now for y'all as well, if you wanted to click on English, because just in case we do have a Spanish speaker, when they start speaking English, you will be able to hear the audio. I mean, if they speak in Spanish, you'll be able to hear the audio in English. So for the globe, you can click on the language that you would need. Only speak the language that you're in, and only speak that language only because it's hard for the interpreter to go back and forth. So if you're in English, in the English channel, please just speak English. If you're in the Spanish channel, then you can speak Spanish. Okay. And then we do have some visually impaired community members in here today joining us. So please, when we do have pictures on the PowerPoint, go ahead and take your time to describe it so that we can be inclusive. And also, because we have interpretation today, please just speak slowly and at a steady pace, and as clearly as you can so that everyone can hear you. Today we have many speakers. So first, we're going to go into historical background with Miss Erica Hubert. And
Erica
then with
Hubbard.
Miss Hubbard, and then Miss Sandra as well. And then we'll have, okay, so we have Ryan today in place of Chan, but Ryan Cooper will give us updates on TexCon litigation. And then we have a video from Dr. In Yang about the health impacts of concrete batch plants. And then Anthony will address the actual permit. Myself will talk about the public meeting process. And then Caroline and Samantha from Lone Star Legal Aid will give us more information about contested case hearings. Right now, Miss Sandra, could you give us a little bit of historical background on the Fifth Ward Kashmir Near Northside community?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you and welcome to our meeting. My name is Sandra Edwards. I am a resident of Fifth Ward. Grew up, born, raised out here, and I have been back in Fifth Ward since 2015 when my father got sick with cancer, and I moved back to realize that the disadvantages that these people out here have had and has still having is crazy because everywhere else has prospered and developed and did good. Fifth Ward is the lost community, the unforgotten, and all that good stuff that we are not having anymore. They looked at us as the path of least resistance, that like we can just accept anything and we wasn't gonna fight back. All that has changed. We are at the point we are not accepting that any longer. We will not accept it any longer. And we need everybody on this call as well as your friends, your family, anybody you know, even if they're not out here anymore and they were out here and they know what we're talking about to help in this fight. Because this is something that's long overdue, that's needed. Not wanted, needed to stop these batch plants. They are coming in our communities. They're not complying with the rules and regulations. And then they TECQ has the audacity to lower the standards so they can be appliance, which means that they're killing us. They're bringing havoc on us. They just bringing all kinds of bad stuff in our area. And we don't want that. We want to live. We want to prosper. We're not going to give up our property and our land because of this. Because if that's the case, we would have gave it up for Union Pacific. No, we have learned how to fight and protect ourselves and fight for ourselves and our rights. And we need y'all to help us stand up to these people because every time they get caught with a violation, they don't correct the violation. They change the name and keep on going, pay that little slap on the wrist and keep going. And we are the ones that have the prop. We are the ones that pay for it with our life, with our health, with our children, with our business, with our home. We are all being contaminated. We are all being just destroyed. They're destroying our life, our livelihood, and everything else in that same nature and the same breath while they're making money, but they're killing us as they make it. And TECQ is okaying them to do that. So in other words, CC is giving them permits to kill. Now, if we was to go out and kill somebody, we'll be under the jailhouse. Why couldn't they go for them? So what we need for this meeting for y'all to understand what they're doing in this community is changing the name, keeping it going, and we are the one paying the price. So we need to shut them down, not stop it, shut them down. And this is what we need all y'all in this fight to help us. I don't know. I don't see Eric. Do you see Eric on here? Because this is who I want to really bring this presentation to y'all. Is she on
Yes,
here?
yes,
Can she
ma'am.
please? Yeah.
She is not on. Oh, there you go.
Ah, there she is. No, is it? Yeah, there she is.
Yeah.
I see her. I see her now. There she is. Hey, Miss Hubbard, can you pick up? I mean, can you finish it? Thank you.
Hi. Yeah. Um, I just joined, so I'm looking at my screen and it looks like, sorry guys, I just could not get the link. Carolyn Crow just sent me the link to log on. So my apologies for my tardiness. We are looking at a screenshot that was taken from the EPA's website, what is it called? The EJ Screen website. And this is basically what is it? The toxic air releases that are in the area that surrounds the Texas Concrete Enterprises. And the reason why this is shared is because it's illustrating that the existing area is already in the 95th to 100th percentile for toxic air. So when you have an area that is currently at the top, when it comes to air pollution, it just doesn't seem like it's a good idea to renew industry or this particular company who has been contributing to that value for decades, as far as I know, right? And so it just would seem, I know that TCEQ does not take into consideration cumulative impact. But given the EPA is, tabulating these statistics, they're not just putting this together, just to be putting it together. There's a reason why the EJ Screen website exists. And I would hope that it would be some sort of evidence that the community is already inundated with air pollution.
Right.
So that was the reason, for those that are on the call, that was the reason why we wanted to illustrate that Texas Concrete Enterprises is currently existing and operating in an area that's inundated with pollution. And so the next slide kind of feeds off of the previous slide. So this slide is the cancer cluster slide. This is the research that was conducted by, I believe, Texas Department of Health and Human Services back in 2019, when they began to look at all the rates of cancer in the northeast quadrant of Houston, and they discovered that these particular areas had higher than average cancer diagnostics. Like the individuals in this area were diagnosed with cancer higher than the average, the national average. And I thought, I have an arrow that's pointed to the location of Texas Concrete Enterprises. And you can see that that particular census area 2106, if I'm looking at it correctly, is a current lung, esophageal, and bronchial cancer cluster. So
Exactly.
the concrete batch plant is operating in an existing cancer cluster.
At the end too. Okay, all right, bye.
And the image that you see there in the bottom right-hand corner is an image that I wasn't even trying to take. I was actually waiting on someone at BARC, and BARC is directly, everybody knows what BARC is, the city pound, and it's directly across the street from Texas Concrete Enterprises. And that plume of dust was what I just looked over there, and I saw that, and I immediately took pictures of it, and I took a video of it. And so one of the air monitors that we got installed back in 2022 is located at BARC. And that is how all of this got started. That air monitor, we're able to follow the PM2 releases, and we can see that that concrete batch plant has been out of compliance for years, and they've been polluting for years. So that's the purpose of this slide. Any questions?
I'm ready. Thank
If
you.
not, somebody say.
I was gonna go ahead, Miss Sandra, and then I'm gonna pass it on to Ryan to give us updates on the TexCom.
And the reason we want y'all to know why this is so important, right behind that picture, it's a whole brand new community, new houses and everything. Right behind this picture, on the other side of those trees, it's a fence, only a fence that divides them. So think about it. You see this new house, you move into Texas, Houston, and you finna buy this house, and then you wake up one morning, your whole house, inside, outside, is full of this smoke and dust. But they didn't tell you this is what you're purchasing. They did not tell you all this. So and then the older people that were already there, no, this is not a different facility. This is right across the street from Bark, and right behind Bark is a new resident. Her brand new houses, townhouses, put up. So it's a couple of these, but we're fighting for this one on Clark Street first. And I wanted to say that even if you want to adopt a pet from over there, who wants to adopt a sick animal and bring them in, and you got all kinds of medical conditions because of this here. This is not just affecting people, y'all. This is affecting animals as well. Over.
Oh, hi, Miss Sandra. Sorry, I wasn't replying to you. I was replying to the comment that was asking, is this the same company that's trying to build near LBJ? So I was just saying that's a different company.
Yeah.
My
If
bad.
I,
I only
Am
seen
I,
that pop up when the picture popped up. I'm sorry.
No, you good, you good.
I just want to
I
make,
have a quick question. I have a quick question. It's a little bit blurry, so it's not as clear. And so my question is, am I looking at um fencing right here? And is that of somebody on some, I don't know what I'm looking at. Am I looking at a barrel sideways? What am I looking at? It's
No,
kind of
he's
blurry.
on a dust sweeper. That's what they supposed to do every
Oh,
time a
okay.
truck come in and go out and keep the street clean. They waited till it was so
Okay.
much dust, and that's why it's flying up because they're not in appliance of keeping it clean like they supposed to. So when they do it, he's actually stirring up more dust instead of cleaning it up. It's stirring it up.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you, y'all. And then go ahead, Ryan. Thank you so much. If you can give us updates on the litigation against TexCon, and if you can introduce yourself. Thank you.
Sounds good. I had to put myself on the timer. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Cooper. I'm an assistant county attorney with the Harris County Attorney's Office. And as all of you likely know, we have a lawsuit against TexCon, which is the operator at the site, the Texas Concrete Enterprise site. And I want to start by just giving you a little bit of background on the site. And so Sandra and Erica have provided sort of the on the ground knowledge about what's going on at this site and the effects that it's had on the local community. And it was pretty powerful, some of the words they had about that site and the impacts it's having on the community. And one of the things that they had said was that this site has been out of compliance for a long time, and that's true. On October 6, 2020 was the first time that Harris County Pollution Control went out and investigated at the site. They saw numerous violations at the site. They had stockpiles located right next to their fences. The entire concrete batch plant, all the in-plant roads were supposed to be paved. None of them were. At various times throughout the past 4 years, the central bag house, which kind of works as a filter when they're doing concrete loading operations, not functioning. And currently to this day, still doesn't function to permit specifications. And so Harris County Pollution Control went out there because there was a complaint and assessed the site and came back and repeatedly assessed the site and have actually assessed the site 15 times before we went out and filed a lawsuit. So from 2020 until January 2024, they've gone out many, many times and saw all the violations that were at the site. And in 2024, Harris County Attorney's Office filed a lawsuit. And, at that time, we were hoping that things were going to get better by filing that lawsuit. And in some ways it has, but in a lot of ways it hasn't. And to this day, the site still isn't in compliance. They have paved the in-plant roads. They have built barriers around their stockpiles, but their baghouse still isn't meeting control measures. We're seeing visible emissions every time there's batching for every single truck that goes in. And so the site is still not in compliance. As to what we're doing to this day, we were hoping that we were going to get closer and closer towards compliance and then eventually hit the site with a large civil penalty to teach them that they aren't going to do that again in this community. Unfortunately, because we're no closer to compliance today, we're going to end up having to amend the lawsuit. Our initial lawsuit was against TexCon Ready Mix. But you'll notice that the permit application is for Texas Concrete Enterprise. So that's something that just changed in July this year. And now we're having to change our lawsuit to include US Ready Mix and Texas Concrete Enterprise as well. So one thing that, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but one thing that may be worth commenting is that, the site has changed hands many times, but fundamentally, TexCon has been operating at the site this entire time. And it's one of two things fundamentally has to be true. Either Texas Concrete Enterprise has to be brought into this lawsuit so that our injunctive relief can be effective. That is, when the court orders them to clean up the site, it's effective. Or TexCon has to be held accountable for not having a permit. We're in this sort of weird twilight space that happens with a couple of these concrete batch plants where the operator at the site is not the person that actually holds the permit. Here we have TexCon operating at the site, but Texas Concrete Enterprise holds the permit. Right across the street at so this is the car facility. Across the street is the Cherry Road facility. TexCon operates at the facility, and another company holds the permit. And so when TCEQ goes and looks at compliance history, what they see is that the company rather, that owns the permit has a perfectly clear compliance history. Why? Well, because they're not actually the ones that operate at the site. So that's worth commenting on. And certainly Harris County's comments are going to address that. And they're also going to address somewhat of a common sense point. I see that my 5 minutes is just up. I'm going to go just a minute longer, I promise. But there's a requirement, a TCEQ requirement, that in order for a renewal to be granted, the facility has to demonstrate that it's currently complying with the permit that it already has. And that makes intuitive sense, right? Why would you permit a facility to keep going if they've demonstrated that they're not going to abide by the conditions that are already a part of the permit? Why would you give someone more leeway when they haven't complied with what they already have? Well, we have all the documentation here from 4 years of non-compliance that Harris County Pollution Control has documented. And I think that it's worth pointing out to the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality that this facility can't meet that standard. It can't. It can't show that it complies with current permit standards because they haven't done it for the past 4 years. So that's our update, is that we're amending our lawsuit to include Texas Concrete Enterprise. And we look forward to working with all of you, commenting on this to try to get a good result for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. And I'm going to open it up for questions. Does anyone have any questions for Ryan?
Well, I'll ask one. Okay, I was listening to what you were saying. Okay, well, common sense kick in at some point. You said that they have a permit to run this facility, but the people that's named on the permit is not the ones that's there. Okay, well, when do we start going after? This is when common sense kick in. We know that you're bogus running this facility. Why don't we put both names on the lawsuit? You can't miss out when you put all names on there.
Yes, ma'am. That's what we're doing.
I mean, I'm just saying.
We're amending our lawsuit to include Texas Concrete Enterprise. So we are now suing shortly, as soon as we get approval from the TCEQ. We're suing TexCon and Texas Concrete Enterprise and anybody else.
Okay, but they got
that's
more names
associated
than
with
that. They have more names than that. So I'm saying, they changed the name, but it be the same people. So every name they have put down, put every last one of those names on there. You're gonna hit somebody. You can't miss them if you got them all on there. I'm just saying.
That's the plan.
Okay, thank you. Over.
Ryan, can you just clarify one of those details? At the site in question, what is the name of the operator? And then what is the name of the permit holder?
Yes, sir. So the name of the operator is TexCon Ready Mix. and the permit holder is Texas Concrete Enterprise.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Can I ask a follow-up question, Ryan? This is Caroline at Legal Aid.
Hey, Caroline.
Is there something we can point to in comments that as evidence of more than what you're telling us on the call that TexCon is running the plant, but Texas Concrete Enterprises is the permit holder? Is that publicly available information anywhere?
Yes, it is publicly available information. So one thing that we're commenting is that the site still has TexCon plastered all over it. I actually just went by the site earlier today and took some pictures of it for our comment letter. The facility still says TexCon. The central baghouse still has TexCon on it and has the TexCon logo. And we could see from the permit application that it's not TexCon, but Texas Concrete Enterprise that's applying for the permit. And we see that on the central registry as well, TCEQ central registry. That can be somewhat difficult to navigate, as you well know, but they are the ones listed as holding the permit, that being permit 116476 at the site.
And then can we get Miss Magruder? Can you answer Miss Magruder's question? She's had her hand for a while.
Yes.
Yes, hello. My name is Miss Dolores Magruder. I'm a lifelong resident, almost 80 years. I've been here in the Fifth Ward area. And I remember that I had went to a meeting with the mayor of Houston, Sylvester Turner. They wanted to propose to build a concrete batch company on Breckenridge, right off of Johnson Drive. We protest, we talk, they listen, and they wind up not building that concrete batch plant there, right off of Breckenridge and 59 freeway. Are we talking about the same concrete batch plant that they are planning to build now? They just moved the location? Or is this a totally different one?
It's different, Ms. Magruder. It's different, but this batch plant has been operating for years and under bogus names and stuff. This is a different one. This is over there off of Collinsworth by the animal shelter.
Yes, I know that one exists. So they was going to build a brand new concrete batch plant right off of Breckenridge, where you can walk about 10 blocks and you be by the one on Collinsworth. So it's the Collinsworth, not the one they
we
was
shut that
proposing
down,
to build.
remember? Yeah,
Well,
remember
we're
we
going to have
shut
to do
that
the
down
same
with that
thing
vote.
and shut that one down as well.
Exactly.
You.
That's what we need y'all for, because we stop that one, we stop one, we can stop another one.
Well, I'm on board.
You're right, Ms.
10 blocks. It's not even 10 blocks.
Yeah,
it's less than that. My question is, did I
mean,
hear
people
you say,
can walk
Mr.
to
Cooper,
that, because I don't walked all over Fifth Ward, so I know you can walk to the one on Collinsworth from Breckenridge.
You sure can. It was hop, skip, and jump. Mr. Cooper, did I hear you say the city of Houston had issued a permit? Did I hear you say that?
Did I say that the city of Houston has issued a permit?
Did you say the city of Houston had permitted it already? I wasn't sure when you were speaking if you mentioned the city.
No, ma'am. The city of Houston hasn't issued any sort of permit for TexCon or Texas Concrete Enterprise.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
This is Walter Mallet. How many of these batch plants lie in our areas that you know of? And is there a future plan that we can stop other plants before they come in existence in our neighborhoods that we know about before they actually start operations of this nature?
I don't off the top of my head know how many facilities are located in that local area. And as far as stopping them before they're built, a couple things come to my mind. I think the most prominent is, this facility is a permit renewal, so the facility already exists. But oftentimes, when it's a new facility coming up, they have to put notice out. They put it in newspapers, and we can fight it before it's ever built on its initial permit application. That's something that we do all the time at Harris County Attorney's Office.
Okay, but in the meantime, we still don't know a physical number of these plants that exist in our neighborhood, right? And that's also important. If you're going to fight, you might as well fight one, you should fight all. Because all of them are hazardous and cause us great risk to health as long as they're operating in our communities.
Absolutely. And, that's why Harris County Pollution Control does have a team that goes out to all of these batch plants and, inspects them frequently. One of my coworkers at Harris County Pollution Control, Eric Bergholtz, is on the phone with me. He's the guy who goes out to all of these sites, inspects them, checks for violations, and then sends them over to my office so that we can get lawsuits going on each of them.
And I'm going to intervene. So yes, sir, to answer your question, within, let's say, just even less than a mile of this current plant, the Texas Concrete Enterprise, the one that's located on 3315 Carr Street, there are about 3 to 4 other aggregate facilities. So if it's like a rock crusher or a concrete plant, and I completely agree with you, we want to go after all of them. However, it is like one at a time that we go after them. So the one that we're focused on today is just Texas Concrete Enterprise because they're up for a renewal. But I mean, even just like a couple months ago, like in March, we were fighting against another one that was in that same area, but it was a different facility. So that's why, especially when you go to the meeting on Monday where you talk to TCEQ, the Texas agency that is giving these permits to these companies, they need to start thinking about cumulative health impact because right now they're just seeing every single person that applies as one store, but they're not thinking about, well, in this neighborhood, there's already 4 that exist. They unfortunately text like TCEQ, that agency that we keep talking about, they are not considering that. And that's something that we would need the community to keep mentioning so that they do change those rules. And then
because it seemed like sorry about that.
Oh, yes, sir. Go ahead.
No,
go ahead, sir.
Well, because the way this comes to mind when I think about this is kind of like the red ant syndrome. If you have a red ant bed in your yard and you think you're killing that bed of ants, if you don't treat the whole yard, there's still soldier ants that are still capable of building more mounds once this one is destroyed. If you don't canvass the whole yard while you're trying to eradicate the ant bed that's actually there, then you just spinning your wheel. And it seems like it's the same thing these concrete batches are doing. Once one go down, there's 2 or 3 that come back up because the whole canvas hadn't been looked at in a way that we don't want any concrete batches in our neighborhoods at all. Because they're actually destroying the future.
This is a fight that we're going to continue to have because the concrete batch plant that Ms. Magruder mentioned earlier, that's a facility that exists. It already existed. And just like this facility already exists, we're just going to continuously have these concrete plants and these entities trying to open up these facilities. This was literally brought to the attention of the EPA administrator when he came down in the 5th Ward, over a year or so ago, and that question was posed to him: what can be done? Yeah, and it's really critical that we take action to prevent any of these plants. These buildings are there. The one Miss Magruder talked about is smack dab in the middle of houses and apartments. So we're going to continue this fight if we don't attach it, say, from another angle, in that maybe these facilities need to be brought down.
My mind said exactly.
Yes.
Agreed.
Yeah, so we are on the same page, and this is why when I get through all of the slides as well, we really highly encourage everyone to come in person to meet the operators of the facility and directly mention to the TCEQ that we don't want y'all here and they should not give them this permit renewal. But however, due to time, I am going to move forward. There are a couple of other presenters. So I definitely know that we're on the same page. So I'm probably going to skip this for now. I will send everything out. Thank you so much, Brian. I will send everything out so that y'all can watch these videos. But I will get a little bit more into the specifics of Texas Concrete Enterprise and this permit. I'll pass it on to my colleague, Anthony. Over.
So I'll just talk really quick about what the area around the plant looks like, which a lot of y'all were asking questions about these already. So it's yeah, very heavily people of color, Hispanic and Black primarily, and also a large Spanish speaking population, about more than half, 52% of the residents. And this is just common across Houston, as y'all know. A lot of these plants just target communities like this. Next slide, please. So this is the map of where the plant is. So that black sort of shape you see there, that's Texas Concrete Enterprise. And it's like all of y'all were saying, really close to homes. There's a school less than a mile away, Betsy Ross Elementary up to the north. And then this area is already super polluted. Like the orange shape you see there, that's a Superfund site. So that's a site that was historically very polluted. They polluted the soil, the groundwater, with toxic chemicals, and the EPA is still cleaning it up today. It's not clean. So this area is very heavily already polluted, which is why we really need to get this plant out of there, because it's just adding another source of pollution to all of the existing air, water, ground pollution that's already there in the area. And it's a residential community. There are churches there, there are schools there. So yeah. Next slide, please. So I'll talk a little bit about what the permit information is, and sort of if it is granted, what it will allow the plant to do. So it'll allow them to operate, to process around 100 cubic yards of concrete every hour. And every year, that's around 3,744 hours per year. So if you do the math, it's around, they're asking to operate like 6 days a week for 12 hours a day. And something that's important is that they did say that they will operate during the night. So that's not good, because these plants are very noisy. They use a lot of lights. They release a lot of dust, and when all of that happens in the night, it can be a big nuisance. So that screenshot right there where it says, "Does the facility operate at night?" Yes, that's from the permit document itself. So they are planning to operate during the nighttime, and they probably already do. In terms of the stockpile, so the stockpile is basically what these pictures are showing you, like the piles of sand and aggregate that they host at the site. Those are going to be around 45 feet tall. And you can see these images are from Google Maps, so or Google Street View. It's what you see when you drive by the facility. And they're not, small facilities. You can see these when you're on the roads, you're on the freeways. They're very noticeable, and the barriers that they have, the walls, they don't contain the dust at all. The stockpiles are quite high. You can see them from quite a distance away. Cool. What is the next slide? Is that mine?
No, but if actually, could you just mention very quickly, like the main air pollutants and
Mhm.
and why we're trying to stop it so that it doesn't keep being a nuisance?
Yeah, for sure. So the main air pollutant is, which you're probably going to hear them say during the meeting as well, it's particulate matter. And that's just a fancy term for very tiny particles like dust or soot or things like that. And particulate matter is probably the deadliest type of air pollution. It kills the most people out of every other type of air pollution released. And that's because these particles are so small, they penetrate into your lungs and can even get into your bloodstream. And that's why they're so dangerous and they have such a high mortality rate. So that's the main pollutant. There's other types of pollution that will be released from sort of the trucks that go in and out. Um, it's called particulate matter. They might also say PM, which is basically the abbreviation, or PM 2.5. 2.5 stands for the size, so it's 2.5 microns in diameter, which is really, really small. But yeah, so particulate matter PM is the same thing. Um, but yeah, so the main type of pollution is that particulate matter, and then the trucks that come in and out, they'll release, carbon monoxide and other types of nasty stuff.
Thank you. So,
Can I ask a question?
yeah.
How much pollution is released once these materials are put back on the truck and drive through Houston, through the highways and the byways? How much do they register that? How much do these trucks actually release as far as what they're carrying from these batch plants?
So I want to say most of the pollution that's released is released when they load up the trucks. So the piles that you see here, um, when they load up those piles into the processor, which is that big column, and then when that processor loads it, batches the concrete and loads it in the truck, that's when most of the dust escapes, and that's when most of the dust is released from the facility. I'm not sure how much is released when the trucks leave. I know that they do track a lot of dust out of the facility, like from their wheels, because there's a lot of dust like on the ground of this facility. And when the trucks drive over it, they, take all of that dust outside onto the streets and the roads. Yeah, those are the main problems. I'm not sure how much is released when the trucks drive through Houston. Um, but yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Anthony. And earlier, someone had asked, like, if we have evidence of like, oh no, I have my video. But basically, this is off of Google Maps, and you have TexCon Ready Mix number 3, and there's TexCon Ready Mix number 2 on the other side. And there's like the other TexCon Ready Mix. So I just wanted to show y'all that aerial view that although it's Texas Concrete Enterprise, they're literally right across the street from each other. And um, and Miss Erica, you've had your hand up for a while. I'm sorry. Did you still have a question?
Yes,
Yeah.
I just had a comment to make. Someone mentioned earlier about a concrete batch plant that the community fought a few years ago. That concrete batch plant was called Soto Complex, and that was the batch plant that had relocated from or was in the process of relocating from Acres Home to that location. And we were all on a call with the planning department because that particular concrete batch plant, in order for it to operate properly, it needed to have a street alteration. So there was a planning hearing about the street alteration, and the planning department refused to allow for the street to be altered. And that is what ultimately stopped that concrete batch plant from coming online. So it wasn't TCEQ that denied it, it was the planning department. And oftentimes the planning department is our de facto zoning department. They don't say that, but that's the only way you can actually stop a business from operating is by not giving it an occupancy permit or by not allowing the streets to be altered. The other comment I was going to make was about this concrete batch plant in question that we're talking about. The appraisal district record for that address says that the owner is Brighter Star Stores. And this comment or this question is directed to Ryan. We talked a little bit about this before. Are you connecting the dots between Brighter Star Stores, TexCon Ready Mix, and Texas Concrete Enterprises? Because my suspicion is that it's all the same people, it's all the same person, it's all the same ring of folks. But how do you legally pull all that together? I think it was Sandra was saying, you know, put them all on the lawsuit. Is it possible to bring them into your complaint?
So we are making that connection. We had that conversation. Is that Texas Concrete Enterprise is part of a very large network of concrete facilities that exists in Harris County and around Texas broadly, that's owned by the same person. And so we've tracked each of those 29 different entities. And to Sandra's point, you know, if at any point Texas Concrete Enterprise is swapped out for any other of the 29 entities or the 30th entity that they make up that morning, that will continue to put them into the lawsuit. Is there a way to grab all of them? Maybe. The only way that would be possible is if we went to the personal assets of the individual that owns all of these companies. And that's sort of a convoluted legal process, but I will say that that is not off the table.
Okay, that's good to hear.
And then Ms. Magruder, you had a question too?
Yes, I wanted to know that if by chance that if that concrete batch company will be built in front of LBJ Hospital, is that the plan?
No, ma'am. That concrete batch plant or that rock crushing facility is a different facility. So that one is still, I believe, under litigation as well. So we don't have any updates on that one, but today we're just talking about the one that's right next to Betsy Ross Elementary. And they are up
Okay.
for a permit renewal. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, the community, that's the one they thinking about. That's what they've been talking about, is the one that's going to be built in front of LBJ. Now, nobody has not heard about the one by Betsy Ross. So I just really think that we need to keep the community more closely, advised about what's really going on. I mean, you live in a community, you don't even know what's going on. That's pretty bad. Even though you poor, that don't mean that you stupid and you dumb. And I'm just saying, to give the community the benefit of the doubt, the whole time you've been speaking, I've been thinking about, we talk about LBJ, what they planning to do. But thank you for informing me. So other people ask me, I can at least tell them where that concrete batch company is being thought about.
Yes, ma'am.
Next
Yeah.
to
So
the
it's like there's like a
by
church that's
school.
right on that corner, and so it's like right on so there's and it's already existed, which is why so it's already existed and it's already been a nuisance, but yeah, they're up for a renewal, so we're trying to stop
Yes.
them from getting that so that they can eventually go away. But yeah, that one is already existing, so we're not talking about the LBG one. But thank you for letting us know so that we can make sure to like differentiate it and making sure that everybody does know. Yes,
Thank
Miss
you.
Sandra?
I just want my Magruder to know, my love, we ain't gonna leave them alone either. We gonna get them too. We gonna get them. They going down just as well. But this one here is up. What we're doing, whoever permit is coming up for renewal, if you this, we're
Yes.
trying to get you, getting you out of, trying to shut you down because you don't need to be out here anyway, among us people. But the one by LBJ, they haven't built yet. So
Okay.
they're trying to build it. But we want to get the ones that's trying to get their permit renewed to not renew to get them to move. So yeah, we're not gonna stop working on that. And the one at LBJ over by LBJ trying to come, we gonna get them to. We ain't gonna even let them come. So your worries are our words. We are not gonna let it happen. Over.
Well, thank you.
Can I add something to that? The same question I presented to the board at LBJ, and I think they're not going to go forward with that particular concrete batch. If you want more information about that information, you might want to get in touch with Super Neighborhood Keith Downey, and he can fill a lot of those blanks as far as that particular batch plan is concerned. But from what I understand and what I presented in those meetings, that particular batch plan will not go forward. But you can confirm with Super Neighborhood Keith Downey, Cashmere Garden. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Walter. That was very important because, like I said, the whole time I've been on the call, I'm thinking about LBJ. And it was good that you kept on talking. So instead of talking about LBJ, I can talk about the one that you really was going to have the meeting for, October the 14th. So that was really important to me because I do go and spread the word very well to not one community, but many communities. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'd like to add something to the regarding the Soto batch plant that was stopped from opening up again in the opening in the Fifth Ward community. We were lucky enough for during the meetings, the Zoom meetings, and talking to this, talking about this, then we had support out of out of the Acres Homes area where they had that batch plant that had opened up across the street from Lincoln Park and next door to someone's brand new house actually. And so we had those supporters on the call, and the company itself sort of helped shoot themselves in their own foot because they basically implicated some state officials had already signed off or had supported their effort in opening up in the Fifth Ward community, and those officials went left. They were really livid and pretty much said they were being lied on, and that put a lot of pressure on that batch plant, and they withdrew their permit. They withdrew it. So we were lucky in that area. Hopefully this company will implicate themselves in some manner that will make it a little bit easier to stop them.
Yes, we're hoping the same thing, which is why I have on the screen right here that there is that meeting on Monday that we keep referring to. We are trying to get so many people to come because we want them to feel pressure to be like, hey, the community is watching you and we've been doing it for a while, to intimidate them. And also at that meeting as well, we do have like some confirmed elected officials that are going to be there, but we have like Senator Alvarado will be attending. But I wanted to show this screen here because it is 7 o'clock and we're having such fruitful conversation. Would y'all mind staying like another 10 minutes? I do want to give some time for Lone Star Legal Aid to present, and then they are really here trying to make sure to support community members that live within that 440 yards of Texas Concrete Enterprise to be able to even advance the case. And then if
it's all right with me. It's Miss
Okay.
Magruder.
And this is going to be recorded. And this is being recorded. So if y'all do want to hop off, then you can, everybody that signed up today, I'll just email you the link and y'all can watch the last portion that you missed. But here is that on Monday, this QR code also is, if you aren't able to make the in-person meeting from today all the way up until that night, please have so many people comment and say that they don't want this facility to get that permit. Just write as many comments. We do want as many comments as possible to intimidate them. Yeah, so the public meeting on the 14th will be at Betsy Ross Elementary School starting at 6 p.m. And then we kept mentioning Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. So TCEQ, they're the state environmental regulators that are able to give out permits. Unfortunately, they keep giving permits to everybody, and that is not what we want. So we need to also stop that as the system and at the state. When on Monday, what you can expect is that this public meeting will last about 2 to 3 hours, depending on how many people show up. But I recommend that y'all come 15 minutes early so that you are able to grab interpretation equipment, sign in onto the mailing list. Because when you're there and you sign onto the mailing list, TCEQ will send you their decision to your mailbox. So you do need to sign up to be able to get those updates. And then that first 30 minutes when the meeting starts is when we as community members are able to ask questions to the facility owners and to TCEQ. And they'll also be able to respond to you. So it's a little bit more conversational. So any questions that you have, you can ask. However, none of those questions that you're asking will be on record. And so, yes, keep it kind of short and ask your main questions, but remembering that none of that is going to be on record. The ones that will be recorded and that they will have to respond to your question is during the formal portion, which is like about the next hour. They'll call you up to the mic and you get to share your comments, ask your questions as well, and then that will all be recorded and then they'll have to respond to you. And then this is kind of how it looks like. You'll have a mic, you'll have the panel up front. So you'll have TCEQ on one side and then the facility owners on the other, and they'll call your name. When you first come in, you'll sign in. If you want to speak to the mic, they'll call your name and you'll be on there. But we want to get as many people as this room right here to show up to the meeting. And then here is, I feel like everyone's really passionate. Y'all know what you already want to say, just listing that we do not want TCEQ to give Texas Concrete Enterprise this permit, and sharing how you've been impacted if you've seen all of the plumes of smoke. And here are some other specific comments that we would want y'all to mention, is that especially the most important is that TCEQ should require this permit to be renewed under the most stringent 2024 concrete batch plant standard permit. And then mentioning some of the other health impacts. So these are some of the recommendations that Harris County Pollution Control has written and submitted a letter on behalf of the Texas Concrete Enterprise. They've submitted this letter to TCEQ saying that this facility they need to have 12-foot high dust suppressing barriers, and then placing three walled bunkers around all stockpiles that are at least 2 feet above the top of the stockpile. So Harris County Pollution Control is just making sure that we also write these recommendations. And still we would want them not to get their permit, but in case they get their permit, they need to upgrade all of their devices. And thank you. I will pass it on to Samantha or Caroline.
Hey, I couldn't find my mute button for a second. I'm gonna turn my camera on too. My dog's drinking water like as loudly as he can in the background. I'm sorry. Hey, so my name is Caroline Crow. I'm an attorney with Lone Star Legal Aid. I've been working closely with Erica Hubbard of Progressive Fifth Ward Community Association. I just wanted to, hey, Pocket, I mean, that's just as loud as you could do it. I wanted to explain to you what maybe a next step in this process is. Crystal has aptly covered submitting comments on this. During the comment process, you can request something called a contested case hearing. It's an opportunity to challenge this permit renewal in a trial-like proceeding. There are some requirements in order to have a challenge the TCQ will recognize. One of those would be being a person who lives within 440 yards of this facility. And this is so bad. I'm sorry. My dog's really. Okay. One is to be someone who lives within 440 yards of this facility. And then the other is to prove the compliance history problem, which Ryan went over, right? This is a bad actor. They've never been compliant. And the person requesting the contested case hearing is in the appropriate distance from the facility. So how do you ask for a contested case hearing? In your public comments, you say, I am affected. I live in 440 yards away, include your address, and you make that request. It's very important to use the words contested case hearing if you do want to ask for one. So trial-like proceeding sounds a little scary. I understand that. The good news is legally it can represent income eligible clients. So I think on the next slide, we had put together, this is what specifically goes in a contested case hearing request. This is actually all in the notice for the renewal. So they list out what you need to include it, just put it in a list on this slide. But and the next slide is how you can apply for services at Lone Star Legal Aid. If the requirements are that you're income eligible, Samantha is our paralegal. She's on this call. She always has apply anyway because they give out lots of resources and there's other things, even if you aren't eligible. And I think that's really it. If anyone has questions, that's all I have.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how about I got a challenge I'm finna do. I'm finna challenge everybody to be at that meeting on this phone call on the 14th. How about that? For next week. I think that's the right date.
I'll be there.
I will too. And I see most of you guys there.
I have a question. And these batch plants, do they come fitted with sprinkler systems to regulate and try to control some of the dust that's deployed while working in those plants?
They supposed to, but they don't. They supposed to keep them. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me shut up.
No, I'm sorry. No, I was gonna add on to what you were saying. Yes, so when they apply, they have they say that they do, and that's actually the measure that they're supposed to take. However, it's not the most effective because then that's not accounting for the wind that picks up all the dirt. And then the cars, I believe Caroline, you mentioned in the chat that a lot of emissions, like all the dust particles, are coming also off of the cars and what they're mixing. So those are things that we can't even, that water is not going to suppress all of that.
No, it's not going to suppress all, but it can help regulate some of the fog that happens whenever these plants are in operation. It regulates a percentage. It can't take care of all the problems, but a little sometimes goes a long way, and a little sometimes is better than none.
Yes. Yeah, so they do have that.
This facility is also required to have a 3-curtain shroud over the point at which they dump the concrete to shift the concrete to the truck. That's another dust suppression mechanism or pollution control device that they're supposed to have on this facility, they're asking to get permitted under a less stringent permit. They're asked because of that is something the TCQ allows. But given the poor compliance history and, as Crystal noted, maybe a lack of controls of this pollution, they should be required to be permitted under the most stringent, or that would be something you could ask the TCQ.
Great, thank you.
Yes, Ms. Gilletto? Ms. Stevenson? Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. Did you have a question?
No.
Okay.
For some reason it decided to just raise its hand.
Okay. No problem. And I left this slide on is because in case y'all, after this meeting, if y'all know anybody that lives within that 440 yards of Texas Concrete Enterprise, please contact Lone Star Legal Aid or us, and we can get you to where you need to go. But this is like an additional thing that can help to stop this concrete batch from getting their permit renewal. Yeah, so just multiple steps that can happen to really contest this. So please, if you know anybody, this would be a great time to get us in contact with them. And then Lone Star Legal Aid will also be present on Monday. So if you have a friend, a neighbor, please bring them along. But we need as many people as possible to show up to that meeting on Monday.
Hello, this is Miss Magruder. I know quite a few peoples that live in that area, but they older than I am. Is there some kind of way we can get a statement from them, get it notarized? Because I don't think they can make it. They barely can go and open up the door when somebody, knock on it. So what about those people that live in that area
And
and
Crystal,
they
if
can't
she get
come?
those names, if she get those names of those people, I would gladly go by there and pick up their statements and have them.
So you can help me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'd be glad to help you do that. So if you got some people over there, I will go by and get their statements for them. Even if I have to do it in a recording where they could hear these people's voice, I would do that.
Well,
Over.
what day would you like to do that? I know you have
What
to
I mean
travel.
is, well, we probably could work on that the rest of this week. Today is what, Wednesday? Let's try for tomorrow. I got physical therapy. Let's try for tomorrow noon to start making the calls and let me know who I need to go to. So by Friday, Saturday, I can make it happen.
Yeah, I can start making a call as soon as I hang up the phone. So I would do that. And then we together will go and do the
We can do that.
okay, that's fine. Give me a
Okay.
call.
Yes, ma'am. We'll do.
Okay.
We'll do.
Please call me too, because on Thursday tomorrow I'm like doing all this block walking stuff. So call me too. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
And then yes, and then because we
Fred,
because they said this is online. So
come
yeah,
in.
if they aren't able to make it, for any other people that you know, they can submit it online, and we can help them with all of the we can help them with all of that technology. So I can go to their house, or we can get a letter.
Okay.
But all of this can be submitted.
Okay.
Okay,
All
cool. We're
righty.
gonna make it happen.
Thank you so much, everybody, for allowing me 16 more minutes of your time.
Can I ask a question right quick, please?
Go ahead.
So they're talking about putting some walls. Who put the measurements on how tall the wall is? Because I don't care how tall you build it. When stuff is able to fly, it's gonna fly. Hello?
Yes. And that's why we're trying to get them to also be like, well, there's already 4 or 3 in this community. Like, we don't need another one.
No, I'm talking about they're saying that one of the conditions is that the height of a wall they're supposed to do, right? But the wall doesn't stop anything. That's
Hmm.
I'm not understanding how their common sense ain't clicked in. They don't have any. Let's put it like that. Because I don't care how tall you put a wall. It's if it when it bounces the wall, it goes up. I mean, hello. So that right there should be like that's not going to happen. That's the way I'm thinking. You know, for them to get their permits or build or whatever they need to build, so they can do what they need to do. The wall is not going to stop nothing.
I agree with you. So please, please come on Monday and bring as many people that have witnessed all of that dust flying and that none of their measures have been working. But yeah.
Thank you for letting me share.
But alrighty, y'all. Thank you so much for your time today. I'll email everything, the recording, all of that, and then I'll get with Miss Moslin Fisher.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, Miss Fisher, and then and please grab Caroline's information as well. But yeah, I'll be sending all of this. Have a fantastic night, everybody. I'll see you on Monday, and I'll follow up with everybody that we need to make sure this outreach is successful. All right, good night, y'all.
Sound good to me, Crystal.
And I'll see you
Have a
guys
good
on
evening.
Monday.
Good night.
Everybody have a
On
blessed
Monday,
evening.
6 o'clock.
Love you guys. Bye.
Love
Go
you.
vote. Go vote.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Thank you so much.